and it's recording. Yes. So hello, wherever you're joining from. This is Kubernetes API Machinery bi-weekly meeting. Today is November 15th, and we have a couple of topics in the agenda. So why don't we get to them? Last week was KubeCon, so we were chatting about how lucky people were with the weather, given that was in Chicago in November. So it was a good icebreaking conversation. Let's start with David and James. I don't know who wants to start with this topic.
I'm not sure James is going to make it, but we did talk about it at KubeCon, and then we've talked about it before, so I want to bring it back up here. Um, there is a gap we have for checking CRD schemas for evolution, and I believe when we spoke last, we are going to try to pick up a project outside of Kubernetes SIGs and explore the problem space. Like, can we have something that works statically at runtime, statically at build time? Can we have something that can accept any schemas you don't control at admission time? Can we control for best practices as well as it's just, you can't do this, it'll break? I'm really, really sure. And I believe that the project that I linked, and I think James has looked at before, meets most of the goals and builds out nicely with a good unit test and integration test infrastructure. So James asked what would be necessary to take it from here to something for Kubernetes SIGs. And I think the answer to that is going to be a KEP outlining the goals, um, being sure that we agree on where things are going, a sketch for handling skips, and then just moving the repo. He volunteered to write the KEP, and I figured I would bring it up here so that people who are interested would know to be on the lookout for a KEP.
Thank you, David. Cici, I saw you adding some information. Would you like to say anything, add to what David said?
I didn't add any I didn't add comments for this topic, but yeah, I do feel that will be great to have like a steady schema check. Like, is the goal to kind of somehow integrate this project to current community?
So what James had asked for was to push it into Kubernetes SIGs.
Oh, I see.
The reason is he was interested in contributing, and for whatever reason, Apple has some rules. And at the time, I had some pretty significant reservations about scope, about what could be achieved, about how to structure a project so that it was going to age and be composable. And I think those questions have been answered by the prototype. But certainly open to other comment there. Yeah, open to other comment there.
Yeah, I looked at this when you first proposed it, and I'm pretty happy with just kind of the general shape of it. It keeps coming up. People keep asking in different contexts to have some way to basically shift left CRD validation, and more than that, like be able to check whether or not you're meeting certain guidelines. So I think starting to set this up is going to be really good for the ecosystem. I mean, you see a lot of people break CRDs in the ecosystem in ways that harm their users, and having some way for them to know what's expected, I think, is going to be really important.
All right. So I think that's all I have for this here. When there's a KEP open, we'll probably discuss it again and ask for comment. I think technically Kubernetes SIGs projects don't need KEPs. I would like to have one for this, just so that we have sort of a shared vision for where we're going, but I don't think it has to get bound by the KEP freeze cycle, since it's not going to be associated with a particular queue.
Yeah, sounds right.
Very good. Thank you, David. Sorry.
Fede, can I ask a question? I just might not be understanding, but I thought all of our work on Cell was to reduce the number of validating webhooks. And so my question is there a way to accomplish the goal of shifting left CRD schema validation without requiring more webhooks that may end up being problematic? Am I misunderstanding, or?
I would be very open to a change in that manner if someone could demonstrate it. I think that the parsing involved in understanding an open API schema is quite a bit to try to do using Cell. Your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, this is, we have looked at this before. This is a pretty heavyweight use case. I mean, because the CRD itself is going to contain cell expressions, and it's a recursively structured thing. You know, I think for a lot of people, the value of this tool might not necessarily be as a webhook. It might be as just like a shift left tool. If people want to run it as a webhook, I don't see Cell as being able to easily solve that problem. It's very niche. Like building infrastructure into Cell to do that would be really hard and probably not useful in other contexts.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it. Was just curious.
And I
Yeah, it's a good
rule
question.
out some potential future where, like, we do this project, it works incredibly well, people like it, and there's a future state where we are considering, should we bring this in as an optional admission plugin into core because it helps us build out an extension story. But
Yeah.
similar to how I didn't want to start, let's create a repo and see what goes there. I'm not prepared to try to push that into Core Cube without seeing that demonstration first.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty viable pathway if things go really well.
After we demonstrate its value.
Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you, Jacob. Was a good question. I didn't see your hand. Sorry. Okay, let's go to the next one. Mo, are you there?
At least partially.
I saw you before, so very good. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so I think Joe, you were not there, but David was there, Jordan was there, Wojtek was there. I think some other people were there too. So we were discussing sort of what our next steps are for SVM and how we can get past some of the open questions that exist today, especially in regards to streaming watch versus paginated lists versus whatever else. And David, I believe it was your suggestion that we basically ignore all that and just not even try to solve that problem, and instead reopen that old conversation we had, I don't know, like a year ago now. I don't know, time is so relative, in regards to making the schema and meaning of resource version no longer be opaque, and instead actually defining it as some form of an integer with some size and some ordering guarantees within a given resource. And once you do that, we already have the requirement that you run the Kubernetes garbage collection controller. That controller already holds the full state of every object, in sense that it knows the name of every object at a particular resource version. And once you have the ordering, SVM could just basically wait to make sure that a current empty list of like secrets at a particular non-existent namespace, which would give it the current resource version, was up to date with the garbage collection controller state. And once that was there, all it needs is the full list of names, and then they can go around doing no-op patches using server-side apply. And that's your storage migration.
And it's worth pointing out that, like, the key point there is that it would prevent us from actually pulling a second list of something we already have present and cached.
Right. It prevents us from pulling that list, which eliminates the problem of coming up with how to get the list without ooming the controller.
Without ooming the API server.
Well, both of them.
Yes,
Basically.
sure. Yeah. And it's an option that didn't exist for the original out of tree implementation, which is why it's coming up now. It's not coming up now just to grief Mo.
Yes, yes. So, Joe, you weren't there. What are your immediate thoughts?
I'm trying to fully catch up on the idea. Is this written down anywhere? I might have to mull it over.
It is not written down anywhere yet. I think the biggest open question is just if we do go down this route, we do have to sort of very explicitly codify the meaning of resource version, and how you can parse it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some reservations and concerns there. I don't want to close any doors that I can't reopen.
Yeah, it's I've thought a lot about resource version in the past. I've managed to mostly convince myself we can't change it, but at the same time, always lumping more stuff on it that locks in the semantics is not, makes me want to think about it again, which isn't a no. It's just a, I don't know. I want to mull it over. See if I can think of anything.
But I will say that, like, if you look at it, it solves multiple problems right here.
Yeah.
And I think at least the vast majority of us have concluded we can't change it. The previous discussion centered on how big of an int versus is it an int? And this is a very concrete reason to do it with a pretty clear benefit.
This solves most of the problems we had around paginating, right? Like,
Yeah, you just
I
don't.
believe it
you
solves
just
all
don't do it.
because
That's really nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
It's still worthy of mulling over, but
Yeah, no, I think right now I'm definitely in the supportive side of this. Like I feel like anything that we were going to do with resource version we would have had to do long ago. Like I wouldn't change it now, so I'm not really worried about it painting me into a corner. I just want to make sure I've really thought it through.
Okay. I can write more words here into like the docs, and then link them back to you whenever I get them all written. Assuming we're okay with the idea in the general sense. I remember last time this was discussed, I know Clayton had asked for basically a kept that described, I guess, the semantics. That's fine, I guess. Like, I kind of want to take this to SIG Arch. I feel like if we go down this route, we just want to make sure that everyone sort of agrees that this is not only the implicit state of the world, it is now the explicit state of the world.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Yeah, let's do it. I might want to throw in, this is on me. I might want to throw in some wording, some places where we kind of warn people if they are comparing resource versions, where the caveats are. I really don't want too many people doing it. So I kind of like us to quietly do it for ourselves here and not encourage its use. But there's always a risk that people will have multiple etcds with exposing multiple resource versions, but not on the same type. And so in those cases, like, it could be a slight foot gun for people if they don't know exactly what those rules are. But I think people are already parsing resource versions, so I don't think this is actually going to matter.
Okay.
So Mo, you are going to start like a 1-2 pager with these ideas, maybe, and share with the rest of the group.
Yeah, I can do that. I can just write a little doc on this, share it with you guys, share it with SIG Arch, and I can also try. The only rule that immediately comes to mind is that resource version is only comparable within a given resource, not across arbitrary resources. Which I can see how someone would screw that up because it's not that frequently configured in a way that you have more than one etcd for a given API server.
We will have to get it right in our implementation of this, though, right? Like we'll have to be very careful about that. I think we would intuitively do the right thing, but it's just something to be aware of.
Right. Sounds good. But yeah, I'll take that action item. Do we have we'll have maybe an API machinery meeting before the end of the year? Like maybe one more.
We do, yes. I suspect the week after Thanksgiving, at least, maybe, and even maybe 2, before everybody disappears. So 1, most likely for sure. Assuming we have content, and like this topic could be content and agenda for that meeting to happen.
Yeah, so I'll try to have it ready before the next meeting, whenever that is, so that way.
Okay. And SIG Arch meets the same week as us, so that'll be a positive.
Just use the same doc twice the value.
I would.
Okay, great. I was scrolling down. The last time we extensively spoke about this was June here, 14th. If you want the recording or some refresher, I think it was yourself bringing this up again. Okay, very good. Thank you. And let's move to the next one. Joel, are you there? Yes.
Hi, yeah. So at KubeCon last week, I spoke with CC, Joe, David, a few others at the table, and kind of volunteered to do some work for IP address and network address validation for Cell. And I've started kind of hacking on that. I'm just basically looking for a kind of sanity check that I'm going in the right direction here, and kind of a laundry list of things I need to do. So I've started on the kind of the syntax for it based on what I see in other libraries. So kind of basing it on the URL library in a way. And I know I need to do cost estimate stuff. I haven't worked that bit out yet. That's tomorrow's job. And I know I need to do some tests. And I think I've found where those seem to be. But yeah, if anyone has a moment to sanity check, have a look at the way I'm going with this, and if there's any other pointers for other things I need to do to get this through, then yeah, I'm all ears on those as well.
Great, thanks, Joel. I'll definitely do a pass. CC, did you also want to do a pass?
Yeah, sure. I'll definitely do a pass. We had a brief conversation yesterday regarding with the functions we want, and thank you so much for reading this. I'll add more comments later in the PR.
Yeah, I might also drop on a couple other stakeholders, people that have been wanting this feature to make sure just we have everything we need. But this is great.
Very good. I really like how after KubeCon, these conversations happen in person, and then we make more progress in a week than what we do in 3 months of remote working. So thank you everybody for doing that. And with that, I think we covered all of our topics today. Anything else that we didn't mention or somebody wants to add? No. Very good. So we are going to close it here. And yes, I will make sure that at least we meet once more before the end of the year. Thank you for all your help all the time and for being part of this meeting and this community. We'll see you soon. Have a good Wednesday.